Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Bark Night Podcast. This is episode 44, and this week we will be talking about psychological horror. So with me, I have Meka G. Would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself for anybody that hasn't seen you before?
Yes, I am Meka G. I am the host of the Cinematic Nightmares podcast on YouTube and on Instagram, and also a co-host on the Blurred AF experience as well.
Awesome. Meka has been on here once before when we talked about Sinners, and basically we just interact a lot online, so I thought this would be a cool opportunity to collaborate. And also, we did an episode a few weeks ago on the horror-themed Jeopardy that I encourage everybody to head over there and check out.
So much fun.
It was a lot of fun. I can't wait to do another one of those.
It's going to be fun.
So, first off, I wanted to take one moment here to just say for everybody, a lot of times when we do these lists, a lot of people have feelings online about the genre or the movies we pick and everything like that. So I just wanted to start off by saying, these are things that are of our opinion. All these movies we think are psychological horror. Maybe you don't think that. That's okay. When it comes to different movie genres or show genres or whatever, I think psychological horror is probably one of the more controversial subgenres because of how vaguely and broadly it's defined.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of right up there with, a lot of people on the internet like to argue about what makes a thriller or a horror movie. I think those movies specifically tend to blend over a lot, and I actually have a couple on my list that some people might be like, well, that's more of a thriller than a horror, and I think it's worth stating that movies can be both.
Yes.
They can be multiple genres. You got things out there that, sometimes a movie can be a slasher, but it can also be a supernatural horror, and at the same time it could be a found footage movie in the midst of all that too, so you can have a lot of different genres to these things.
Right.
Okay, so let's jump into it. So I've talked a lot here, so I wanted to pass the ball over to Meka for a moment and just ask you, what is it that you think psychological horror is? What makes a movie psychological horror, or a show or a story?
So for me, psychological horror is anything that has to deal with the mind. Anything that has to deal with like an alternate reality where, the character thinks they're in one reality, but in reality they're in a completely, different reality. Or in the case of like, Norman Bates from Psycho, where, he had, dissociative identity disorder, like where he had his mother was speaking in his mind. For me, psychological horror is just everything to deal with the mental anguish that people go through. And also, the things that people create, the worlds and the alternate realities that people create in their minds as well.
Yeah, I think that's really good. It's like the mental state or the emotional state or any sort of like reality altering thing, or when you think something's happening but something else is happening, or when the movie's like wearing a character down mentally over the course of the entire movie.
Right. Like mentally they feel like they have a grasp on reality when when in reality they don't have a grasp on anything.
Yeah. I took to Google to see how they defined it, and it's actually very close to that. It's basically a subgenre of horror that focuses on the mental, emotional, or psychological states of characters to frighten, disturb, or unsettle the audience. So,
all right, Google.
Pretty
me
clear,
and you on
point. Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty clear, but once you get into the movies themselves, sometimes there's a lot of things at play, and things become a little less clear. Right. So, yeah, let's jump into the movie portion of it, the thing we're all here really for. And I want to say, I keep saying movie, does not have to be a movie. You can talk about shows if you want to.
There are shows too, yes. But yeah. I tend to lean more towards movies when it comes to psychological horror.
Yeah, so what are some of your favorites, and what about them do you think makes them psychological horror?
So it's crazy because I was doing a whole, you know, I was recharging my social battery, and I just went back and started watching some of the psychological horrors that I love. And The Tale of Two Sisters, or The Uninvited, if as most people know it, from the Tale of Two Sisters is the Korean horror, and then the Uninvited is the remake. Basically, it's a girl who ends up in a mental institution. Her father has remarried, and she's talking to her sister. And we can do spoilers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Just say spoilers right before.
spoiler alert.
I'll divide everything up, so if somebody wants to just skip to the next movie, they can skip to it.
So spoiler alert, this she's actually talking to her dead sister. And that's the reason why she ended up in the psych ward, because she was envisioning that her sister was still talking to her and still interacting with her and interacting with their dad. And in reality, her sister was no longer with the living. And yeah, so that's one of my favorites, and definitely Psycho.
So,
Norman.
For The Uninvited, I had not even thought about that movie.
Oh.
That is a great example, though. And so that's from 2009.
Yes.
I remember seeing that. I didn't know that was a remake.
Yes. Yep.
That's awesome. And it's got Emily Browning in it. She's got a big history in horror movies as well, being in Ghost Ship and
right.
Darkness Falls there.
So yeah, The Uninvited is definitely one of my favorites, because it plays into that whole, when you get to the twist, when you find out this whole time that she's just been talking to her sister who has passed, you're like, what? Like, and then, I love when what they do in psychological horror, when they go back and play all of the scenes where, where we thought she was talking to someone, and she was sitting on a dock by herself, or she was sitting in the bathtub by herself. I love that part of psychological horror too.
Yeah, they do it pretty deep into this movie too. I think it's maybe like a half an hour left of it when they reveal that.
Correct.
And then, so correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't Emily Browning's character kind of turn into almost like the villain of the story at that point?
She's the stepmom, right? I want to say.
No, Elizabeth Banks was the stepmom.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Elizabeth Banks is that. I wouldn't say she becomes the villain. Well, I wouldn't say she becomes the villain. She just becomes more irate, because she really truly believes that her dad cheated on their sick mom with the stepmom. Mm-hmm. And so she, her sister is convincing her that she did this. She's the one that split up our family. She's the one that broke us up. It's her. Right. I think she also blamed the other woman for her sister dying, because had she not been so upset and angry at the time, the boathouse wouldn't have blown up, ultimately killing her mom and her sister. So it was a lot that played into that movie. Yeah. Like that movie was heavy. But the original is even heavier. So check both of them out.
Yeah, I might have to do a double feature episode on those, because I didn't know that was a remake, but I've not seen it in a very long time either.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah, so you were talking about Psycho too.
Oh yeah, Psycho. So again, Psycho is probably one of classic Alfred Hitchcock movie. Norman Bates, you can't get any more can't get any more crazier than what he was going through. Dealing with the grief of his mother, of killing his mother. He ultimately just inherited her into his psychological being, and she became ultimately another character in the movie. And at first we're like, oh, this old woman is yelling from almost a half a mile away up the hill in this house, and we can hear her. And then come to find out at the end, spoiler alert, she's just in his head. He created her.
Yeah, I think Psycho is probably one of it's up there. It's like if we were going to do like a founding fathers of psychological horror, like that would be up there as one of them.
Definitely. Most definitely. Like Norman Bates, they've done studies on this character, because that's how good Psycho is.
Yeah. Did you watch the sequels?
I think I watched them when I was like younger, but I haven't revisited them as an adult. And I know like Psycho 2 goes into more the backstory for like Norma. I didn't watch Bates Motel either. By the time I found out it was on TV, I was already like a couple of seasons behind, and I was like, oh, I don't want to start over.
Yeah, I tried watching the show, and honestly, I just kind of felt like it was an idea that didn't need to be stretched across that many episodes because of like I don't know. I think psychological horror, it's best digested in, you know, small increments.
Right.
Like,
But
I mean, I think that a really good example of psychological horror is probably like the Mike Flanagan Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor shows.
yes.
But those are contained stories still, you know, it's not stretched across seasons of it. It's, you know, 8 episodes or whatever.
Right. I think if they had kept the Bates Motel to probably just and if I'm understanding you correctly, like if they had kept it to like a limited series where we only got it one time on like Netflix, it would have worked.
Yeah, especially when you know the story already, you know, right?
Right.
So you know exactly where it's going, so it's hard to keep engaged with it. Because I watched a couple episodes and I was like, I'm not digging it.
Okay, I guess I'm not going to watch it then.
Hey, maybe give it a try. I mean, it was years and years and years ago when I checked it out. But I know I know that I have seen people really like it online, so I don't want to discourage anybody from watching it.
Yeah. But yeah, Psycho is definitely founding father of like psychological horror for me. I just watched, this one kind of teeters on the side of psychological thriller, but
There it is.
still, I thought it was more horror than anything. It's called I See You. It's about a kidnapper who is going around kidnapping kids in this neighborhood. But then it goes into a deeper story.
Is that the one with like the twist partway through?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Don't spoil this one. Because...
I'm not spoiling this one. I just
Okay.
watched it.
Yeah. Great
Yeah.
twist. So let me talk about this movie for a second. So I watched this movie, and for a good half an hour of it, I was like, what is this? Like, what am I watching right now? Like, I was so sick of it, and I almost turned it off. And then not 15 or 20 minutes later, there's a huge twist, and it completely changes the entire movie. And I was so into it from that point on. From the twist on, I was like, all right, I'm in. And it ends up being like actually pretty damn good.
Okay.
So,
You sound
great
like me. That was me too. I was like, what? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
And then the twist happened and I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's a quality twist right there.
Yeah, and that's what like I said, that's one of those ones that kind of leans. It can go either way. It could be a thriller, but it also kind of leans on the horror aspects of things as well too. So, but great movie, excellent movie. If you have Paramount Plus, you can watch it on there.
Yeah, that was a quality one. I think that one for me that probably my oldest example of a psychological horror that I was a fan of is Jacob's Ladder. This was probably the first psychological horror I ever watched. It's also one of the main inspirations for Silent Hill. And I remember, so when I watched this, it was when I was a kid playing the first Silent Hill. And like I might have been like 10 years old. And that kind of messed me up a little bit for a little while.
I was gonna say, if you play Silent Hill, you probably was like, you know what, I'm just gonna cut all these lights on.
Yeah.
We're good.
I remember I think I might have been in like second grade when I saw this thing, like so young.
The Jacob's Ladder is a great psychological horror, and it's one of those ones where you don't know, you as the audience do not know what's real and what's fake. And that's what makes that movie so great. And I was so disappointed when they decided to do a remake of it.
Yeah, I didn't even bother watching the remake. Did you?
I didn't. I saw that they made a remake of it, and I was like, I saw who I and don't get me wrong, love Michael Ealy to love him, love him, love him, love him to death. But no,
Yeah.
like
It
no,
doesn't seem like his type of part, right?
right? Like I mean, yes, he's used to playing the psycho, right? Like he's always the like somewhat the bad guy, the cute bad guy. But this one, it just didn't. It didn't feel right. It didn't
He
feel
was
right to me.
in The Following? Is that what he was in? He was in something where he was like a serial killer.
Um, I can't think of the name of it.
Kind of feel like it's The Following, but at the same time, I'm like, maybe that's not it.
Yeah, I'm like I can remember him from like The Good Guy, or like he's always playing like the pretty boy that the woman cheats on with her husband with, and then he goes crazy, and it's like you just like typecasted yourself. So when they did Jacob's Ladder, I was like, he gonna go crazy like he does in all the other movies. I don't need to see this.
Yeah, right. I'm trying desperately to figure out what it is I'm thinking of. It is The Following. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. He was great in The Following. He's a serial killer in it. Did you watch The Following?
Is that the TV show with Kevin Bacon?
It is the TV show with Kevin Bacon.
I watched like one episode.
Oh, you should check that one out. I'm telling you. So it's made by Kevin Williamson, who did the Scream movies and all that. And hey, I just clicked the button just to see whether it's classified as psychological horror, and it is. So it qualifies according to IMDb. It's great.
So I will
There's
check
a
out The
ton of
Following.
twists. And yeah, definitely worth checking out.
We'll do. We'll check it out. Like I said, I watched one episode and then I was like, okay, I'm good.
It's surprisingly good. One of my favorite shows. I mean, when it was airing too, I remember everybody at my job was talking about it. Everybody was watching it at the time. But hey, like I said, Kevin Williamson can't do wrong.
And it's got Kevin Bacon, since they canceled they canceled his other show.
The Tale of Two Kevins.
Yes.
But yeah, another psychological horror. I told you I was going to watch this. I did. Black Swan. I mean, this is another one that, like, as I was watching it, I was like, this, I'm sure somebody will make the argument that it's only psychological thriller, right? Same thing as yours. But it definitely has all of the elements of a horror movie. There's murder, there's the emotional state that you're seeing this woman just break down over the course of preparation for this play, mentally, emotionally breaking down, heading towards some sort of, psychological transformation by the end of the movie. And honestly, this was a great movie, and it does not shock me whatsoever that Natalie Portman got an Oscar win for it.
Yes.
Quality movie.
Yeah. For like Black Swan, to me, is the psychological piece of it is perfection. She wanted to be perfect. She wanted this role so badly that she was willing to do any and everything to get it.
Right.
And I also went back and revisited Black Swan today, and I was like, okay, I can see this. I can see this.
Yeah. I think that it was really interesting the way they told the entire story, where she's so good at being, the princess of the story, where everything is about that part of her. But in order for her to become this Black Swan of the story, she needs to undergo a complete transformation, and what that does to her psyche over the course of the movie was just really interesting to watch. One of the things I noticed when I was watching it was how it really picks up like this breakneck pace that barely lets up the entire time you're watching it. So it was no surprise to me when I looked up and saw that it was the same director as Requiem for a Dream. Mm-hmm. Have you seen that one?
I remember watching it, but I haven't watched it like lately.
So that's like a psychological drama. It's a very hard movie to watch. I mean, sometimes I've seen that movie a bunch of times at this point. Sometimes I kind of think that one is almost like it's definitely got some horror elements to it. Just kind of the dark side of society, or the dark side of being human,
Yeah.
But Yeah, Black Swan, really great movie. Glad I watched it. Not surprised it won some awards. I was surprised it didn't get nominated for the best score, though, because that score was haunting.
Yes, very much. Very much.
Yeah, solid movie. What else you got?
So this one kind of leans on the side of it's two genres. So have you ever seen Gretel and Hansel?
I have not, but if I remember seeing the other day that it was directed by somebody that I liked.
So this one, it like I said, it kind of leans because I was doing my research for folk horror as well too. And this one, and actually, I kind of feel like any kind of folk horror is also a psychological horror in the same breath. Like, I just started with Hansel and Gretel, but Midsommar. So like Midsommar is dealing with it, we have a character that's dealing with grief. Someone has just passed, and she ends up going to a festival where they deal with grief and in the most unconventional way, but it also starts to go very left and starts to mess with their psyche because it's daylight, basically 24 hours a day, which in any case that would make somebody, if you couldn't sleep because the sun was always shining, you eventually would start to break. And so like Midsommar is probably like one of those ones where it's not only folk horror, but it's also psychological horror as well too.
Yeah, I had Midsommar on mine, and I think that your point that her emotional journey through grief and out the other side over the course of that movie is a huge part of that movie and absolutely makes it psychological horror. And there is certainly no denying that it is folk horror as well. So yeah,
Right.
that's a great one. I really liked Midsommar. I saw that for the first time, I want to say in October, like years and years later. So this might change your opinion of me or many people's opinion of me. I do not like the movie Hereditary.
I was just going to say Hereditary, but
You can talk about it all you want. It is okay. I didn't like it. I appreciated how well it's made. There's many things I think to appreciate about it, but I just didn't really like it. So I didn't watch Midsommar for a long time simply because of that. And finally I did, and I loved Midsommar. And then I find out that this is apparently a thing. There's like, you fall into a couple different camps. There's a lot of people that like Hereditary and don't like Midsommar, and vice versa. So I guess that's where I stand, is I really like Midsommar. I don't really like Hereditary. And then I would imagine there are a ton of people out there that don't like both. But yeah, I really liked Midsommar.
so I'm kind of like you. Like I appreciate Hereditary, but it's not. I mean, I will talk about it. I will mention it in anything that I talk about when it comes to horror because I have seen the movie. Hereditary is heavy, and this is what I'm learning from A24 movies. All these I think I'll say all of them. Majority of these A24 movies are psychological horrors.
Yeah.
And because they deal with some type of trauma, some type of grief, they deal with somebody's mental state. It's some type of element in these A24 movies that make them pretty much all the same.
Yeah.
And it's like, not saying I don't love the production company. I do, like, because they put out good quality movies. But like I saw Bring Her Back and I was like, we're just wash, rinse, repeat.
You can 100% tell when you just watched an A24 movie.
Right.
Like, you finish it and you're like, yeah, that was like, okay, so have you seen A Different Man with Sebastian Stan?
No, I haven't seen that one.
So it is the quintessential A24 movie, like The Lobster or, things like that are just like, they're a super wonky idea that's
Right.
just played almost like it's played to like get awards or whatever. But I'm telling you, I finished this and like I'm never watching it again. First off, it's not a bad movie, but like
Right.
it's one that's hard to watch. And I think that is something that happens with A24 movies is like you finish it and you're like, okay, that was really well, and props to them for making that an idea that you can make a movie out of and not just a short or whatever. But like you just have that feeling when you reach the end of like, I don't think I'll ever watch that again, and it was the most A24 thing You know, like you just think if you read the plot to the movie The Lobster, you'll be like, yeah, that's an A24 plot.
Right. Right. It's got something to do with trauma. It's the same. Like even with Bring Her Back, it has to deal with trauma. It has to deal with the grief of dealing with death, and some type of supernatural whatever happens, and then you're just like, okay. And then you get to the end, like I went to the movies and saw Bring Her Back and left the movie theater and was like, I won't be watching that on streaming. I'm good.
So how did you see that already? Was that like one of those like AMC early things or something?
Yeah, AMC Scream Unseen.
The words I was looking for.
Yeah, and I know there was like other people that went and saw it at other movie theaters. There was like, oh, it's a secret horror movie. AMC doesn't tell you. I mean, obviously Scream Unseen, it's going to be a horror, but I mean, obviously you don't know what it is until you sit down. But I had a feeling that it was going to be Bring Her Back, and then as soon as the directors popped up on the screen, I was like, all right, let me just go ahead and get myself settled for the craziness.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie yet. I am going to go see it. I did see somebody said that their exact words were, it's the feel-bad movie of the summer.
Yeah. Yes. I have to agree.
Makes you just feel awful afterwards.
No, like literally because this Bring Her Back is so heavy. Right. It's heavy. Like, I'm not going to spoil it or anything for anyone. This is like my thoughts on it. It's so heavy that when you walk out, you just feel like, one, what in the hell did I just watch? And two, you're just like, what? Like everything that leads up to the ending, it's typical A24.
Nice. I really, when I saw they were releasing this, I was like, why don't you guys just make Talk to Me too?
We're getting it. We're getting it.
The directors there just said that they apparently have 2 scripts for it now. They have 2 scripts. They haven't decided which one they like more, and both are completely different and about 2 completely different groups dealing with this thing in 2 completely different circumstances. I mean, at this point, just make both.
I was just going to say, just make both.
Talk to me and talk 3 me.
Talk through me.
But yeah, I mean, I really like to Talk to Me. That's probably one of my favorite possession movies of the last few years. And
if we want to be honest, it could also lean into the psychological realm as well too, because again, we're dealing with someone's mental state, dealing with grief, and getting to the point where when she the little boy has the hand and she's like talking to her mom, she's like, what, like, yeah, it leans more into that. And then even with all the things that she sees throughout the whole movie, like like I said, A24 is really slick because they're like, oh yeah, we'll give you like a horror movie, but we're gonna mess with your psyche at the same time.
Yeah.
We're not just messing with the character psyche, we're also gonna mess with yours as well. So when you walk out, you be like, I don't know what I just watched.
Yeah, that one definitely, that's a dual genre one. It's a possession movie. It's psychological horror. You could even argue it's supernatural horror as well. They're dealing with ghosts the whole time.
Right.
While we were talking through all that, I did look up Gretel and Hansel. It is Osgood Perkins.
That's right.
That's why I was thinking about that one. I had seen it recently, and I was like, oh, he did that? I might have to actually watch that now.
It's good. It's a really good movie. Like I said, it is more folk horror, but it's also psychological at the same time. And like I said, most folk horror dabbles in both, because it's with folk horror, it's messing with your psyche and messing with your mental when it comes to like witchcraft and rituals and all that stuff. So like it can go either way.
Yeah, I was going to bring up Longlegs for mine too. Same director, Osgood Perkins. Very much psychological horror. Very much. That movie, I have not watched that a second time.
Ditto. I went to the movie theaters and saw that movie and still haven't watched it again.
Yeah. That movie, it's unsettling, I think would be the best way to put it. Unsettling.
Especially the end.
Yeah.
Especially the ending. Because I was just like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know. I was scared and I wasn't even a part of the movie.
Yeah. I could not imagine what it must have been like to be on that set with Nicolas Cage in that costume, too.
And I love the fact that the trailers never exposed his face.
Yeah.
Never showed you what he looked like. Then you get into the movie and you finally see it and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
No.
They 100% played that one right.
Right. And even when they was doing a trailer and they kind of, like, he kind of, like, you know, did that shot where he does show his face into the camera and they cut from it, that was perfect. Mm-hmm. Nicolas Cage in this movie was terrifying. He was so terrifying. Like, he was so out of the charismatic guy that we always were so used to seeing. Mm-hmm. And for him to play this serial killer who wasn't actually doing it, I guess you want to say, he was great.
Yeah, I think that aspect of it and where the movie goes almost requires a second viewing to fully grasp everything that was happening there. So I do think I'm going to watch it a second. I might be at the point now. What are we, 7 months on from that release or something? Or not even, no, it's probably close to a year now.
Almost a year, because I remember seeing it last in the summer. I want to say I saw it in the summer. Did I say in the summer?
July or August maybe.
Yeah, sometime during then.
Yeah, so I think I might be ready for a second viewing of that now.
Yeah, it's I still need more time.
Well, you just saw Bring Her Back, so I think that might have set you back a little while on just all of psychological horror.
I mean, I did. I went back and watched some psychological horror today. I mean, not as bad as Bring Her Back, or as bad. I mean, I would say bad, like bad in the sense of like those are bad movies. They're not bad, but not as heavy.
Yeah.
As those two movies, like.
Yep. Another one I had thought of that I think really qualifies. Have you seen The Night House?
Yes.
Another one that playing with grief, emotional state.
Yeah.
Seems to be a constant of psychological horror. But I really like this one. It's David Bruckner who did the new Hellraiser remake. He did The Ritual. The Ritual's very good folk horror. That's actually got some psychological horror.
I was just going to say.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Because that's the whole thing with it. Spoiler alert, they're getting hunted by a Wendigo. Wendigos, their whole thing is that they're preying on people that are at a low emotional state. So he's wearing this group down over the course of the movie. But David Bruckner, really good at that. Heavy focus on Rebecca Hall's emotional state during this, following the death of her husband, and her not knowing what is real, what isn't, what is happening around her, what is this whole house that she has found, and all of that, all the secrets she's uncovering. It's I haven't watched that a second time, but I would like to. I really like that one.
I think that's like it's like a common thing with like psychological horror. It's like once you watch it one time, you're just like, you know what? I'm gonna need a minute.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need a minute because
psychological horror there is like the Black Mirror of the horror movies scene.
Right.
You watch one episode and you're like, all right, I'm good for a month. I can't even watch this next week. I'll have to watch it next month.
Like, I'm surprised I watched so many psychological horrors back to back.
Yeah, that'll wear you down.
I mean, like, and all of them have, well, not all of them had to deal with grief, but like that's becoming a common theme with the psychological horrors that we're mentioning is dealing with grief and dealing with death and dealing with, the mental, the mental state of people cracking from dealing with grief. And, psychological horror is just like, oh, somebody died. Let's play with your mind.
Yeah, basically. You got anything else on your list?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I have a whole bunch of things, so I'm going to start like machine gunning these.
Let's do it.
Okay. Silence of the Lambs.
Definitely psychological horror.
definitely. Really good example. It's like the cat and mouse game of Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling. He's kind of playing with her mentally the entire time. You've got the whole mystery around the serial killer. Really good example. Mental institution. Man, what a good performance by Anthony Hopkins, too.
Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Yep. I just saw him in something. Oh, I watched Mission Impossible 2 last night. I was trying to, like, kind of prep for going to see the new movie this week. I fell asleep during it.
You fell asleep during which? 2?
2.
Or the new one?
The number 2.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, you fell asleep during the new one.
Might have narcolepsy. Get Out.
Yes. I have to agree. Yes. Like, I mean, it's heavy though. But here's the difference between Get Out and all the other psychological horrors. I'll watch Get Out over and over again.
Yeah,
like, just because, really, like, even after I found out the twist, I still to this day be like, oh,
right.
Oh, they're doing that.
And it changed. That's one where, like, you know, some of these movies, when you have a good twist like that, it changes the way you see the movie.
Yeah.
On rewatches, and it makes it, you know, for the better. And you're looking for cues. You're looking for the breadcrumbs that they laid to get there. And there should always be breadcrumbs. You know, it shouldn't just completely come out of nowhere. You know,
right? And actually, most psychological horrors do leave you breadcrumbs. Right. Kind of like going back to what I was saying about Psycho. Like, you know, how would we be able to hear this woman from inside the house on the second floor?
Right.
You wouldn't be able to hear her, right? But then you start paying attention to Norman whenever he's around whoever, and he's facing the house when Mother is talking. And so then, like when you go back and watch all of these movies, you start picking up on the cues. You start picking up, like you said, on the breadcrumbs. So like with Get Out, you start noticing, like, hey, look how she looking at him. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I knew it. I knew that hussy was going to try to steal his... Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that one's really interesting because you're truly wondering... You're with him along for the ride, you know, right, where you know something's going on. It's so obvious something is going on the whole time. And you're just like, what is happening here? Why is this, like... These things keep happening. And you're just wondering, like, what is happening here, you know? And, yeah, that's a really good one. I love that movie. I mean, to a certain point, Jordan Peele's movies all have psychological horror elements to them. I think this one has the most, though.
Yeah.
I mentioned Mike Flanagan's haunting shows. I think that Oculus and maybe even Gerald's Game, to a certain point, both of those, all of those have a lot of psychological horror elements.
I love Oculus.
Oculus is great.
I love Oculus. I just rewatched that a couple of months ago, and I was like, I forgot how good this movie was.
Yep.
You know, like, we're dealing with obviously supernatural mirror, but still, like, playing with people's psychological, you know, mental state in this, you know, this mirror is changing, you know, how you think or how you see or, you know, what you believe. So,
yeah, what is reality, what's not.
Right. Love Oculus. That ending was crazy, though.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I saw an interview with Mike Flanagan where he was joking around about the fact that he got hired to make The Haunting of Hill House. And he just basically took the plot to Oculus and applied it to the house.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Now it's a house instead of just a mirror. And that's essentially what the house does in The Haunting of Hill House, is it's altering reality and what everybody sees. The Haunting of Hill House is so good.
It's a very good show.
Yeah.
That one scene where it's just dropping and more dropping.
Yeah.
Scary.
Score too. I mean, I think that falls in multiple genres too. Psychological horror, supernatural horror, and I think it's got gothic horror elements to it as well.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Oh, it was Strange Darling. That's the other movie I watched.
Strange Darling. That was a wild movie. I really like that.
It was good. It was good.
Smile. The Smile movies. Smile
Oof.
1
And
and 2.
like, I hope everybody notices that there's a common theme when it comes to psychological horror. Like, death, grief, and then messing with your mental. So definitely the Smile movies, because I mean, who wouldn't crack if somebody killed themselves right in front of you, and then you took on this supernatural entity that just kept showing up and smiling in your face all the time? Who wouldn't crack?
Yeah, that's the crazy part about the sequel is when you start it, you don't see what happened to the police officer between movies. You saw where it ended with him,
Right.
and you see where he is now, and you just see him completely worn down now. He looks completely exhausted at the beginning
I
of the movie.
loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I mean, that whole opening to that movie is insane. It's an absolutely well-shot opening. And we did an episode on Smile too, and one of the things that I've always thought impressed me most about it is how much the director improved between movies. You can just see in the filmmaking styles that he uses, there's one-shots, the editing in the movie, it's all a considerable amount better in the second movie. And the crazy part is the first movie is still very good. But you just see that like he did improve with the second one, and that's like another example out there where like I do like the sequel better.
Yeah, I think the sequel was
the first
dope.
one's still very good.
Right. Don't get me wrong, I love the first one too, but the second one really drew me in because, like you said, that opening scene is what got me. Like I was like, I'm invested now, and then things happen, and you're like, I don't know what to do anymore with this. But the whole movie, like you said, the cinematography in this movie was great. It was a step up from the first one. And that ending, that's all I can say.
I called that ending before we even watched it. I called it on an episode. I was
really?
Like, I was like, listen. You don't make this movie and make the main character a pop star if you're not going to kill her on stage in front of all her fans. Spoiler alert. Like, you don't do that if you're not going to do that, right?
Right. It wouldn't have been at like a meet and greet or anything like that.
Yeah. No.
In front of millions of people with their cell phones out who were probably on live.
Yeah. And I'm going to call it again for Smile 3. You don't end the movie like that. Unless you're going to start this next movie with machine gun kills, right? Person over and over and over again. You're going to watch 50 people die at the beginning of this movie. Maybe not 50, but I bet you watch like a good dozen or something. It's going to be just flashing person to person to person. And then I bet the whole movie after that is completely different than anything we've gotten in these last two. But
Smile is good. That was a good one.
Smile's awesome.
One. Yeah.
Obviously, I really liked it. I got a lot of things to say. But let's see. What else do I have here? Knock at the Cabin.
Yes, that's a very good one.
Yep. You're wondering the whole time whether this group is basically full of it or not.
I think, not gonna say all of M. Night's movies are like that, but majority of them have to deal with something that leans towards some type of psychological horror.
Yeah, I think even The Sixth Sense, that's obviously like supernatural horror primarily, but it's definitely got some psychological horror elements.
Right. Again, dealing with grief. Mm-hmm. And death. And ghost.
As Above, So Below.
Ooh. Well, you just coming out of, you're just like, that's one of my favorite movies.
As Above, So Below is great. You know what surprises me about that one? Every time I watch it, I forget how good it is. Like, I go into it, and I'm, like, kind of just like, oh, all right. By this point, I remember, like, because I've watched it. But, like, the first good, like, 3 times I watched it, each time I was like, oh, yeah, this is really good. Like, especially once you get into it, like, yeah.
It's one of those movies that, like I said, I love a good psychological horror that also affects me. So, like, I have really bad claustrophobia. Mm-hmm. And so, every time I watch that movie, I start breathing really hard. I'm like, I'm stuck in there with them. Like, I love that about a good psychological horror. If it can affect me too, and I'm feeling what the characters are feeling, you sold me.
Yeah, claustrophobia will do that. How do you like The Descent?
Another claustrophobia movie. When they got stuck, when that girl got stuck, I think I held my breath and almost passed out.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh my God, if that wouldn't be, I would have panicked.
Yeah. I bought that for my mom on DVD way back in the day. My mom's a huge horror fan too.
Mm-hmm.
And she couldn't finish it because I didn't realize that like she's claustrophobic as well. And that movie, like, she could not handle it. It wasn't even like the, monsters in the caves or whatever. It was just the caves.
Yes. A good background for your movies. If you can make that a part of the experience, it's great. Like for me and your mom, yeah, I almost didn't finish it, but I was like, I'm going to see this through. I started breathing again, and I was I'm gonna see this through. But great. And also the other thing in psychological horror is dealing with the fact that the group breakdowns.
Yeah.
When you have your groups that are together and everyone starts to slowly but surely lose their minds. Mm-hmm. It starts with that one hysterical person and then it just spreads throughout the rest of the group. Yep. Like once they start arguing, it's over.
I have a really great example of that when we get to the physical media section.
Okay.
Okay, I got a couple more I wanted to mention here. So first off, Blue Velvet. I don't know if this counts as horror, but it's definitely psychological, and I watched it for this episode. Very good movie. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen that one.
David Lynch, if you know him.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very weird, out there movie. It was good. I bought it from the Criterion Collection sale that was not too long ago. But yeah, very good. The Others with Nicole Kidman.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Great example of another supernatural horror, gothic horror, psychological horror. A lot of those same themes we talk about where she's wondering what's real, what's not, and all that. Also, won't spoil it. Go see this movie if you haven't. It is quality. I won't spoil the ending for the audience, but it's a quality twist.
Yes.
Right there.
Yes. Very, very quality.
One that I didn't watch was I didn't get to Mother.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that movie?
So Mother is one of the the other part of psychological horror is when you're dealing with other groups that are trying to convince you, kind of like Rosemary's Baby. Mm-hmm. And Mother kind of teeters on the side of Rosemary's Baby. It's just Mother can be heavy. Again, when you watch psychological horror, you have to go in with the mindset that you're about to deal with a heavy subject, especially if you're pregnant and you're getting ready to have a kid where your mind is already thinking the worst and then you watch a movie about the worst. And then it just messes with you. So, but yeah, Mother is heavy.
Yeah. All those things you just mentioned made me kind of think maybe it's a good thing I didn't watch this one. I don't really like Rosemary's Baby.
Rosemary's Baby
is also very similar to Hereditary too. I don't like either one of those movies, so maybe I wouldn't like Mother.
I don't think you'll like Mother then. I don't think you'll like Mother. But Rosemary's Baby is the classic. It's a classic. It's classic in gaslighting. You're not. You're crazy. And I remember watching Rosemary's Baby when I was pregnant with my second kid, and was I'm looking at my significant other you did this to me.
Yeah.
I better not be pregnant with this born of Satan. So it's I think a lot of the psychological horror when it comes to motherhood can be tough to watch as a mom. Movies like The Babadook. She's dealing with grief, but also dealing with her child who is, we'll just say, very difficult to deal with, right? But he's also dealing with grief, right? He's also dealing with, with the death, a death too. And it's just, The Babadook is not just a supernatural horror because we barely even see the creature.
Yeah.
It's more psychological and her dealing with what's real, what's fake, and her son slowly but surely watching his mother lose her mind.
Yeah, definitely a heavy topic.
Yeah.
I appreciate what Rosemary's Baby did for horror, and I appreciate how well it's made and everything. But, Yeah, I mean, I've watched it a couple times now, and I tried to watch it, I think, like a year ago. I was like, maybe I'll give this another try, and I'll like it this time around. I didn't even finish it. I was like, no, this isn't for me.
It's hard to watch because everybody's trying to convince Rosemary that she's not crazy.
Yeah. And it's also got, like, all the 70s tropes, you know, in there, too, that have been, like, done to death at this point. And, I mean, it's worth pointing out that 70s movies can be hard for a lot of audiences to watch because they are slow, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, that is the nature of 70s movies at this point. I watched the movie The Conversation the other night with Gene Hackman, and I absolutely appreciate how brilliant this movie is. But it's also, like, it's a good half hour longer than it needs to be, and there is zero action in this thing. I expected a little bit of action, no action whatsoever the entire time. Extended scenes of you just listening to a recording over and over again. And that's like kind of what you get with 70s movies a lot of times, where there's just like you'll be sitting there and next thing you know 20 minutes has gone by and you're like, has anything happened in like a little while here? Like, did the TV freeze? Like,
Right.
but I appreciate that, and there's certain ones that I really appreciate, but yeah, Rosemary's Baby's not one of them, I guess.
Have you seen the prequel?
No.
Yeah, there's a prequel. Apartment 7A, I think it's called.
Oh, yeah, with the girl from Wolfman. Mm-hmm. I can't remember her name. Garner. Julia Garner?
I think.
Julia Garner.
I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
haven't seen that.
Yeah, just take Rosemary's Baby. And I'm also I won't say it's not good. For me it wasn't good. I didn't really like it. But it kind of reminds me of Black Swan because it has to deal with a dancer.
Gotcha.
But just think Black Swan and Rosemary's Baby having a baby, and that's
then make it 8 hours long.
That part. So yeah, it's got the dance elements in it. Then it also has like the satanic elements in it. But it leads into Rosemary's Baby.
All right. You know what that just reminded me of too? That has to do with dance?
Which one?
Suspiria.
Ah. It's a classic.
Yep.
Have you seen the remake?
I have seen the remake. I did like the remake.
Yeah, that's a good psychological horror too.
Yeah.
Anything that's got to deal with dance, I think it's just the idea of perfection. You know, just being perfect. And getting that, I want to get that role. I want that role so bad. Like, you know, and then you just do
the
anything
lengths people will go to for
that
these
part.
things.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen that one, you need to check that one out. I mean, I always tell you I don't like it. I didn't like it. I watched it twice and I was like,
The old one?
no, I watched Suspiria. No, I like both of those. I like those. I'm talking about the Apartment 7A.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that. I watched it twice. And I was like,
I don't think I'll watch it.
it wasn't great.
Like I said, I think I'm good on the Rosemary's Baby idea. And
If anybody ever says we're doing Rosemary's Baby, I'm just gonna be like, I'm not.
Yeah, there's no we.
You.
All right, I think that's a good place to jump into our next segment here, the Physical Media Showcase. So for the Physical Media Showcase this week, I grabbed a couple movies that I had in my collection here that I think lean a bit into the supernatural horror. So there's a few of them behind me here, so I'm just going to start grabbing them and rolling with it.
Sweet.
Okay, so our first one from A24
Oh, God.
is The Lighthouse. You seen The Lighthouse? Okay. Well, it's unabashedly an A24 movie. Robert Eggers. I mean, he did The Witch, too. That's another psychological horror.
I've seen that one.
Great psychological horror, great folk horror. Yeah. The Lighthouse is basically about Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson are lighthouse keepers on this island, and they have to, basically, they're stuck with just each other for, I forget, 30 days, 60 days, something. And over the course of this time, they sit here and they just drink themselves into insanity. And yeah, that's basically what the movie's about, is those two guys losing their minds on this island with each other.
Sounds about right, A24.
I mean, like I said, you read the plot to an A24 movie, and you're like, that sounds like an A24 movie.
Right. It has
Like,
all
you
the
can
makings
tell.
of an A24 movie.
It does. It's like, wait a second, you're going to make a whole movie out of that?
Right.
But I will say, I love this movie because Robert Eggers is, I mean, I think he's one of the great directors of our generation.
Yeah.
The cinematography and the style of this movie is great to look at. And these two actors, I mean, they go all out in their role. So I highly recommend you go see this. It's another one of those you might not want to watch more than once because it's out there. It's very, very out there.
Right.
As one will be when it's A24.
I was going to say, when is A24 never not out there?
Okay, another one, and I think, some people, it might be a little bit of a controversial grab for me, is
Oh,
1408.
a great psychological horror. And
Yeah.
the guy's name was just in my head.
John Cusack.
Yes, thank you. He's great in this movie. And this, I think, I watched 1408 as a recent, not gonna say recently, it's been about a couple of months. I can't watch that movie again. I can't. It's heavy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and Samuel Jackson, so good in this movie.
He really is. He's very, very great in it. I mean, and it was during that time where he was big enough that he was getting roles in like every movie that are like these supporting roles like this. And, obviously now he's gotten to the point where he's the lead in all these things. But yeah, great point in his career. And yeah, quality movie.
Yes, I like 1408. That's a great movie. Good pick.
Well, I'm glad you support my decision to grab it. Another one here that, hey, it's in the name. American Psycho, have it on DVD. I just realized this DVD is unopened. I don't know how that's happened all this time. But, yeah.
He was just holding on to it.
I'm just holding on to it and repeatedly watching it on streaming, apparently.
So American Psycho is one of those ones where the debate starts to be, where the debate is he really doing all of this, or is it just in his mind?
Yeah. I think he is really doing all this. And, I mean, so, to me, like, I think he's doing all of it, but nobody realizes it because, if I remember correctly, I think the whole point of it is that all these guys don't really know each other. They're all work colleagues, and they work in this place where, they're almost indistinguishable from each other. And like the whole thing that they have with Paul Allen through the whole movie is that like nobody really knows who Paul Allen is.
Right.
When they're talking to him, when they're not talking to him. So when he up and goes missing, nobody really knows because they think they saw him yesterday or whatever, So that's why he's getting away with this, is because none of these people are actually very personable with each other,
So I get that. Okay, so I get that. But then like for me, when he's in spoiler, when he's sitting, at lunch with his colleague and he tells him everything. And the guy's like, what are you talking about? Like, what? Like, is he just blowing him off? Because he's like, I don't want to get involved with that. Or is he really like, dude, like, this is not you. Like, this is nothing like you. Like, I don't understand what you're saying.
I read that as him not really, like he's not really listening to what he's saying, like he's half listening, to the point where he realizes the guy's talking and it's not making sense, and he's like, what the hell are you talking about? And like he probably thinks to himself like, what is this, you talking about what you dreamt about last night? Like to him it just doesn't make any sense because it's too much for him to handle, That's kind of how I read that. But I think that's almost the brilliantness of the movie, is that you can read it in multiple different ways, And that's what you have all those movies of that are the all-time classics where everybody's always debating those certain aspects of it. Like, was it real? Was it not? What happened at the end? I think that's part of the recipe of a brilliant movie.
Yeah. American Psycho is definitely a classic. And have you ever seen the sequel?
No.
The sequel's on Paramount Plus. I was gonna watch it today, but I was like, I've had enough. I've had enough for one day. I have. It's what is her name?
Mila Kunis.
Yes, she is a survivor, or she witnesses one of oh my goodness, mind blank. She witnesses one of him killing someone.
Patrick Bateman.
And yeah, Patrick Bateman. She witnesses him killing someone, and she ultimately picks up where he left off. So she ultimately becomes his protege. So it's really good, though.
Is it?
Yeah.
I had heard mixed things about it.
I mean, obviously, because people are like, "Oh, it's nothing like the original American Psycho," and it's like, duh, it's a woman, like, you know, and she's not, she, I mean, she does a better job at getting her victims, you know what I'm saying? Because she's a woman.
She goes on like a full-on spree.
If I'm trying to remember it correctly, I think she's like in college at the time, so like. It's surrounding somewhere around that. I might be getting confused with another movie, but it's been a while since I've seen it. But I have seen it. But I thought it was good. I've watched American Psycho too, and I was getting ready, like I said, I was getting ready to watch it again, but I was like, I've had enough psychological horror in my life for one day.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go watch a cartoon after we get off.
Right. I'll have to give that one a try. I have not seen it though. I've seen it around a bunch of times, but I was just kind of like, that looks like just cashing in, you know.
Are you excited about the remake?
You know, cautiously optimistic, I think, would be the best way to put it. The director, I think his name's Luca Guadagnino. I'm probably not saying that right. And Austin Butler. I think that is a good combination, those two. It has all the elements of being a good movie, I guess would be the way I put it. But that don't always make a good movie, so.
True. This is true.
But I'm optimistic about it, and I would, Austin Butler was great in Dune 2, playing a psychopath, so it would be really cool to see him do that again in a different way. So, what about yourself?
Interesting. I'll watch it. I'm gonna say I'm excited about it, but I mean, obviously, I'm gonna go and see it, and because I like going to see remakes and see what they do differently, or if they stick to like the original, or if they stick to the source material, which is the book. Please, God, don't stick to the source material.
No, I think the only way this is successful is if they do their own thing with it.
Yeah. A re-imaging of American Psycho. That'll work. Right. Not a remake, a re-imaging.
Yeah.
What else you got?
What else do I have? So, first off, 7. Probably the biggest offender in the is it a horror movie or is it a thriller? And obviously, you know where I stand on that because I'm talking about it.
It's definitely it's a horror.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a horror
very
movie, y'all.
Psychological. It's definitely a thriller. I mean, it's got all the elements of a thriller. It's got the mystery. It's got the, the edge of your seat thrills and all that. But, like, come on. You cannot watch this thing and not think there's some horrific things happening in it,
That one scene.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I just can't.
Well, and that is the thing, too, is it's got multiple scenes like that, too, though, that are, like, truly, truly horrific. Like, every one of these murders is awful.
And centered around one of the 7 deadly sins in the worst possible way that you can see it. And you're just like, I honestly couldn't have been a detective or a police officer during that time if I was in the movie. I'd have been like, no, I quit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go work at Dunkin' Donuts.
That's the thing is, like, you see Morgan Freeman's character in it. He has seen things like this so many times that he's like, I can't do this anymore, guys. Like, come on. Look at this. Like, how could I? Like, that was his last case after this. Like, he's not, this ain't never happening for his character again, right?
I would have retired too. I'm like, I'm good. I'm good over here. But who didn't retire? Brad Pitt's character.
I like to wonder what happens to his character after that movie too. Like, does he go to jail? I don't know.
He probably ended up in a padded room.
You may be right. I mean, that's when they at the end of it they say like, "Don't worry, we'll take care of him." You know, and it's during that era where cops really do. You know, oh, I lost the paperwork. Guess he's got to go. You know,
Right.
but,
Right.
I don't know. You know, he might. He's not going to be okay.
Oh,
No
no.
matter what happens, you know, whether he goes to jail or whether he goes to a mental institution or whether he goes free, he's not okay. This has affected him for the rest of his life.
Oh, he's definitely in a padded room. In a straitjacket.
You're probably right.
7 was Seven.
Yeah.
Now I need to go back and watch it.
7
That'd
is
be
so
last.
good. That's one I owned on VHS and now I own on 4K. And the 4K is so beautiful. David Fincher like watched over the whole restoration and everything. It's a really good one.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, next up, The Shining.
Shining.
Surprised we didn't talk about this one yet. I was like, there's no way this one makes it all the way to the physical media showcase.
And it
getting
did.
talked about. And it did. Probably the prime example. Like, it's right up there. Like, if we're talking like I said with Psycho, the founding fathers of psychological horror, this is up there too.
Yeah. We're talking isolation. We're talking with someone who is dealing with, who clearly has anger issues. Like you said, this is the grandfather of psychological horror. And then you have a snowstorm that, gets you snowed in. And then the supernatural elements start happening, playing with, Jack Nicholson's character's mind. I mean, even though it is a slow burn, do not, don't think that it just gets to the craziness, straight away.
Yeah.
It's a
It's
slow
from the
burn.
70s.
Yeah, it's a slow burn. But when I tell you, when things start happening, they start happening.
Yeah.
He goes from 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah. I love The Shining. It's one of my favorites. It's one of those, even though it's got all of the tropes of 70s movies where it's got those long sequences of not a lot happening, but Stanley Kubrick just knows how to keep you engaged in the midst of all that, and it's a really great example of just a quality horror movie.
Yeah, love The Shining.
All right, and here's the one I referenced earlier. And let's see if you can pick this one out. So it's a group of people, and they're in an isolated location, and paranoia is taking over the entire group, and they're in the snow, and there's an alien.
Dreamcatcher.
No, but The Thing.
Oh. I was going to say Dreamcatcher just like that too.
That is Dreamcatcher. I realized that, yes. My next clue is going to be Kurt Russell. That would have given it away.
Oh, yeah, that would have given it away.
The Thing's got, so I will say, IMDb completely disagrees with me on this, but I'm doing it.
No, the Thing is
Psychological horror.
definitely psychological horror.
Paranoia.
Yeah, right up there with. I mean, it's paranoia. It's it's being stranded in the middle of nowhere. It's being trapped in a snowstorm, knowing that there is no way out for you. Right? Eventually, and then there's an alien running around, and you can't. And the trust issues, because you can trust no one.
Yeah. And you see this group, one by one, break down over the course of this movie. And what's interesting about it is you never really know how much time has taken place.
That part.
It could have been days, but you get the vibe that it's been many days,
Right.
I don't know if it's been 30 days. I don't know if it's been weeks. And I think that's intentional, too.
Right. And like I said, once the group starts arguing, it's about to get real bad.
Yeah.
When they stop trusting each other, that's how you know things have gotten really bad.
Yep. Yeah.
But
That's
yeah.
one of my favorite movies. I have 3 different versions of it. I have the DVD and 2 different versions of the 4K. That's how much I love that movie.
Nice.
Okay. And we're down to the last 2. So first up, from the director of The Crow, I have on VHS, Dark City.
Dark City.
Have you seen Dark City?
I haven't seen it in so long.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a very long time, too. So, admittedly, I don't know if this really qualifies, but I saw it, and I was like, I want to talk about Dark City.
I mean, it's got Dark City. It's Dark City.
Yeah. I mean, you're playing with the idea of what's real and what's not the whole time. If I remember, they've got, flashes of memories, And, there's, I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it because you really got to see this movie. But yeah, I mean, you're playing a lot with that idea of what is real and what's not. And it's definitely psychological. And it definitely has some horror elements. So, boom. There we go.
Dark City.
Dark City.
I'm about to rewatch that.
Yeah, check it out. Everybody says online that you should watch the director's cut, but I've never seen the director's cut, so I can't officially co-sign that, but that seems to be the internet consensus. So find that one.
Will do. I'll find the director's cut.
Okay, final one. And once again, IMDb disagreed with me on this and just says it's a straight thriller, but I disagree. Cape Fear. I mean, this is the whole basis of the original House of Horrors Simpsons episodes there with Sideshow Bob. So, I call it horror all day.
I say any movie where you have somebody trying to kill someone else, that's horror. Yes, it could be a thriller as far as like the mystery behind it and all that good stuff, but yeah, Cape Fear's a horror.
Yeah.
Like a
So
horror
you have
thriller.
seen it?
I saw it like a while ago, but I haven't watched it recently. I haven't rewatched it recently.
I watched it, I want to say, like a year and a half ago, and I was really surprised by how well made it is. And it's got a unique style to it that you just don't see. And I think that was because, for one, Martin Scorsese made it. He's done a lot of horror movies. He did Shutter Island. That's another example.
Shutter Island is good.
Yeah, Shutter Island's awesome. But like for this one, he shoots it in like it's got a unique quality to it the whole time. The way everything's lit. It almost seems like it's like shot on a stage or something in a lot of scenes.
Oh,
and I think
nice.
that's because it's a remake of a movie from like a black and white film from way back in the day that I've never seen that version, but it's a really good movie. Nonetheless,
Okay.
So.
I'm about to rewatch them. Make me a list of all the movies I need to rewatch. Go back and rewatch them.
Definitely
You watch them when you're like younger, and then I people mention Cape Fear, and I'm like, oh, I should go back and rewatch that. And then a horror movie pops up, and I'm like, I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah. Cape Fear's a good one. Dark City's a good one. We thought about a lot of good ones today.
See, yeah, I even threw Dreamcatcher in there.
You even got Dreamcatcher in there. Dreamcatcher made a cameo. Nobody predicted that one.
Although I don't suggest you watched it, but Dreamcatcher, it's not great.
Okay, I think that I'll go on a little bit of a tangent on Dreamcatcher right now, and this is where I'm going to close the episode. Okay. Dreamcatcher is not a good movie. I want to say that. It is not. No. But I have watched it multiple times.
How would you torture yourself?
I think there are some funny qualities to it, and there's some things to be enjoyed. I mean, for one, look at the cast. Quality cast.
Yeah.
And everything with Morgan Freeman in it is unintentionally hilarious in this movie, especially because of the eyebrows that they give him. But, I don't know. There's some things in this that are good because of them being scary. There's some things that are in this that I rewatched just because I think they're hilariously bad. And the whole thing with the guy that's got the alien inside him and he's just walking around the house farting. How do you write that?
He's gonna be walking around breaking wind. You good?
So there's some aspects of it that I'm like, I like this, and then there's some aspects of it I'm like, this is so bad it's good. And that's Dreamcatcher for me. I also own Dreamcatcher on DVD.
I do too. I was just throw that out there. I do.
See?
I
bet you've watched it multiple times, right?
Nope.
You're like, no, just the once.
Twice. I'm good. I'm good on it now.
Well, there you go. All right. I think that's a great place to wrap up. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Everybody that tuned in, thank you all for listening and watching us. You got anything going on upcoming that you want to tell the people about?
Yes, I am going to be dropping a new Exploring the Shadows. That's where I dive into a different subgenre of horror. This month is going to be, surprisingly, folk horror. So we'll be talking that. Next month, we'll be doing another game night. I'm still deciding on what it's going to be, whether it's going to be Family Feud or whether it's going to be Wolf. But I'm leaning more towards Family Feud because I just want to see two groups of people just go at it. But other than that, I'm still dropping top fives every Sunday. I just did a top 5 yesterday of savage revenge glow ups, women that were, you know, kicked down, dirty, and then they came back with vengeance. So, good stuff.
There you go. Check it out, everybody. Give Cinematic Nightmares a follow. And while you're at it, if you're not following me already, give me a follow. I'm on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube as @BarkNightPodcast.
And you can follow me on Cinematic Nightmares Podcast, Threads, Instagram, YouTube. They're all Cinematic Nightmares Podcasts.